It's time for
DodgerHeads.
high fly ball into right field. Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 club. Strikes him out. There's a drive. Shohei Ohtani. Freeman hits the ball. She is gone. Birthday party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Matthew Moreno, and joining me tonight, Anthony Witrado. Anthony, happy Sunday. I feel like we're sort of a repeat of the last time you and I were on a Sunday night show. I know we were joking as we were getting ready before the game, before the stream started, that we're sort of getting fed to the wolves a little bit again. But before we get to that, let's hear. You look like you've been enjoying some time in the sun this weekend.
Yeah, played a little golf on Friday, got some sun. Then, unfortunately, I got some sun yesterday doing yard work. So that was very fun for me. And then, yeah, a little barbecue outside today with the kids going in the swimming pool. I tried to test it, and it is still far too cold. So the kids are, they feel no pain when it comes to swimming pools. So they're all out there running around. So yeah, it's been a nice outdoorsy weekend over here.
It's good. That's good. Unfortunately, the night then you had to settle in and watch the Dodgers. Have a little bit of a clunker there on Sunday Night Baseball with ESPN. Not Landon Knack, which we'll get to him. Like, I think he certainly deserves some recognition tonight. But we want to thank everybody who's joining us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. I know it's been a frustrating day, a frustrating weekend, disappointing start to the road trip, and potentially some concern. One of the topics we're going to discuss tonight is the stretch in the schedule that the Dodgers are in right now. They're going to see the Guardians are up next, which they're in the AL wildcard picture. Then the Yankees on the weekend to start the homestand. The Mets again. The Padres are mixed in. The Cardinals. So we'll get to all that. We're also going to discuss some injury updates. Obviously, the big news today, Shohei Ohtani facing hitters for the first time since his elbow surgery in 2023. Some encouraging news with Roki Sasaki as well, Michael Kopech, and then maybe some discouraging and reasons for concern with Evan Phillips. But we'll get to all that. Before we do, if you are with us on YouTube, please, as a reminder, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, all that good stuff. It helps you stay up to date with us. You won't miss any of our live shows, any interviews that we put up throughout the season, and also different videos that we're posting during the week. Anthony and I will also, as we do with every show, I'm seeing a lot of our familiar faces. So guys, bear with me on this. I know you're used to it, but we do have some newcomers. Anthony and I will answer questions at the end of tonight's show. But if you are on YouTube and you have something you want us to discuss right away, then Super Chat is the way to go. And we already have a few of those. So let's start with these, Anthony, before we kind of pivot into our plan for tonight. The first one is from Baseball Geek. Says he's talking about the Dodgers. They're not a playoff caliber team. 22-21 after the 10-0 start. Need to abandon the everything is about October because their October will be in Cancun. I get it. And Anthony, I feel like you and I are I joked about it, and it's not necessarily a joke. We're in the same position we were the last time you and I were doing. I'm pretty sure it was a Sunday night show. Maybe it was a different day. They sort of all bleed together during a baseball season. But there was panic. There was maybe not. There was panic. There was a lot of concern, a lot of anger. Here we are again, NLCS rematch to start the road trip. Dodgers lose 2 out of 3, the one, and they won it. So I don't like to play this game, but the one that they won, like, they easily also could have lost. And so
Sure.
you're looking at, could have been swept. The flip side is if the defense is a little bit better today, like maybe the Dodgers end up putting together, enough at bats and they steal one today. But what about this idea of, not everything is for October? I don't want to, I'll let you take that part. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah. I think that they're building with the expectation that the roster is going to get them into the playoffs, which I think is a fine assumption, considering who is on the team, even with guys struggling and guys injured. They're still a pretty good baseball team. I think that though there's a mix. Like, I don't think in Major League Baseball you can necessarily build a team for October. like in the NBA, you sort of can build a team for the playoffs, and you know, if you don't care too much about your seeding and all that. But baseball's a little bit of a different beast. It's a little too random in the postseason to say like we're just built for this. You know, you have to play 162 games before you get there. And so it's about, you know, just constructing the best roster possible, and they've done that. I think that, you know, we all applauded them in the wintertime when they made the moves that they made, rightfully so. But they're kind of a middling team right now. And I think a lot of that has to do with injuries, mainly on the pitching side, obviously. But I think the big surprise here, though, is how much the offense has struggled. Like they've gone through some hot stretches, but I think we figured that they would have a floor, and the floor would still be pretty good. And so far, those valleys that they've hit have been really low, and I think that's been a serious contributor to sort of them just kind of hovering and not really taking off. So, you know, how you fix that, I'm not, you know, guys just need to play better. You know, it's a sucky way to sort of put it, but everyone's healthy on that side of the ball for the most part. And so, you know, if guys just aren't hitting, you know, and you look at there are some holes too in the lineup right now, right? You look at Muncy, you look at Conforto, you know, them probably being the biggest culprits because they're guys who were supposed to hit around the middle of the order for this team, and they're not producing. So yeah, I really put this on the offense, and that's the surprising part, because this team was supposed to be dominant on that side, you know, and we understand where the pitching's at. It's just, you know, so many injuries right now all at the same time. But yeah, the offense, it's baffling how bad they've been.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I don't want to sound like a complete broken record. I think both things can be true right now. One, the Dodgers are not a good baseball team as of this moment. They have shown it. The Angels, you know, going back to last week, like getting swept by the Angels and then sort of bouncing back against the Diamondbacks, and now this series, like they're not playing very good baseball. Like right. I'm not going to sit here and argue that they are. The other side of that coin, though, and what you, myself, I know Blake is in here in the chat, even Jeff when he's on these shows, Daniel, and I know that in some sense we're sort of in the minority because Anthony, like you're on Twitter as well, like it's dooming like every single game that the Dodgers lose, right? And that's just not how we view things. I know that's not what we believe. It's not lip service that we're trying to give you guys. The reality is, as Anthony mentioned to it, the Dodgers have a ton of players out right now. Now, if you want to raise questions with, well, is Tyler Glasnow going to even be healthy for the postseason? Sure, like that's a discussion,
right?
And that can be part of this. But the reality is, as you mentioned, like the Dodgers, not so much that they've built their roster for October, but for all intents and purposes, like they sort of have. They still should get into the postseason. I know Blake has put. I don't know if he was getting that as an actual stat, but he said the Dodgers playoff odds are still basically like 99% type thing, which you don't want to necessarily take anything for granted, but like nobody is sitting here. I mean, I guess some people in Baseball Geek, one of them is saying, you know, they won't make the playoffs potentially, but if they were healthy, I don't think that we would be seeing these struggles for such a prolonged stretch. Like, yes, it's a long season. Last year's team, you know, lost 4 or 5 games in a row at multiple points. Like it happens. Right. The problem is, and looking out, and we're going to get into the schedule stuff, is they're not healthy right now, and it's just a reality. And unfortunately, health is not around the corner. Like these pitchers coming back are a month out still.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, it puts the onus on the offense. Max Muncy needs to be better. You mentioned the floor. I think part of the problem is Muncy is not meeting he's not anywhere close to expectations.
Yeah.
Pages, you know, he was struggling before he got going, and now he's sort of struggling again. Conforto has fallen well short of expectations. So the offense, like the pitching is what it is right now. The offense is it needs to improve in here. Blake is correcting himself. He said Fangraphs has the Dodgers at 98%. So maybe even Fangraphs is doing a little bit of dooming today.
Yeah, you know, and with this too, you know, they're still, even with what the record has been the last 40 games or whatever, they're still in first place. So the teams that are chasing them it's not like they're running them down and passing them by. Not at this point, at least. And, you know, the pitching has its issues, and the bullpen has had some struggles at the back end a little bit, you know, all of that stuff. But the bottom line is, like, for like looking at today, And even looking back at the game that they won in this series when they, went scoreless for like 3 innings in extra innings, you're not going to win a lot of games if you score 1 run. And the pitching kept them in it. They did what they were supposed to do as a staff. But yeah, to the doom and gloom stuff, like this is still a playoff team. Obviously, like you said, you don't want to take stuff for granted, but I brought up the point about the other teams behind them not having not caught them yet, because to say also, like, this is still a playoff team. They need to play better. There's no question about that. Like, we agree with everybody in here that is saying that. But the fact of the matter is that they're still a good club. They're still probably going to make the playoffs, and they are still probably the favorites to win the World Series at the moment.
Yeah, and Blake is sharing those odds from wrong comment. Sorry, 1 second here. Fangraphs has the Dodgers at 20.9% chance to win the World Series. Next closest is the Yankees at 15.5%. No one else is at 10. And those are live updates. Like, those are fluctuating with. It's not like they set it going into the season and then forget about it. That's looking at the current landscape that everybody that we're discussing right now. And so, yeah, I mean, look, we get the frustration, but I think it's a nuanced conversation, and I know that Twitter especially doesn't allow for that 9 times out of 10. Like, it's either, it's a black and white. I can't call it a reality, but perception on that. And so it's just that isn't the reality, unfortunately or fortunately, if you're the Dodgers. Our next super chat's from Ivan. It says, "Why do we continue to bench Kim to play 0-4 Conforto? Please tell me not because of hard hit balls." Yeah, I mean, this is it is interesting. I think it's twofold. One, Dave Roberts and the Dodgers, their philosophy is to give veterans, every chance. I mean, look at how long they kept Chris Taylor and Austin Barnes on the roster as they were struggling because of other aspects that they brought to the team. And I know Conforto is new in that regard, so it doesn't really apply to him. So yes, in some sense, it is the at-bat quality that they are seeing from Conforto that is keeping him in the lineup. The other part of it is they don't, as much as Dave Roberts said, like, the Dodgers aren't fully against Ha-Seong Kim starting against a left-hander. The reality is he has not been in the lineup when a left-hander has been on the mound. The other part is Dave Roberts came out and said Ha-Seong Kim is going to average, I forgot, he might have said like 3.5 starts per week, because I know I tweeted out and everybody was mocking it, saying, well, how does he make the half start? This and that. It was like, Dave Roberts said he'll average 3.5. So like,
right.
let's do a little bit of math here. I think they don't see, for whatever reason, right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not, the indications are they don't see Kim as an everyday player at this point in his career.
Yeah, and I've been a Kim advocate. I think the bigger issue here is how they handle Conforto, because at this point, the at-bat quality might be fine, and the hard hit ball stuff might still be sort of lying around there, but he's not producing. Yeah. And at some point, you need to produce. And with all the hard hit ball stuff, we've gotten enough of a sample now to know that there are some other trends that are not good from him, particularly him pulling the ball in the air and things like that, which he's not doing. And so at some point, I think they should have made this call already, but they're going to need to make a call on him in terms of how much he's actually playing. And I know they want to give him the runway. I know they want to see 150 plate appearance, all of that. But what is the answer then when he gets there, and if he's still producing or not producing the way he is currently? I think it's time to seriously take a look at that and say, okay, what are our other options, and how do we get other guys in the lineup, to replace him in particular? Because I think that with the offense struggling the way it is, I think that runway for a lot of guys should start to shrink. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. And I think him and Muncy are the main culprits at the moment, in terms of, like, who needs to sit on certain days. But yeah, my thing here with Kim and him is, it doesn't have to be one or the other. That doesn't have to be the only option there. And if they don't want to play Kim every day, that's fine. They still shouldn't be playing Conforto every day at this point, though.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree. Like I said, I don't necessarily understand it. Like, I was shocked that Kim didn't get into the lineup for any of these games recently, especially this weekend. Especially, I mean, I guess it was Mets started a lefty on Saturday, but I thought maybe he would be in the lineup today then, since it was Senga. But also, it might have been just they viewed Senga as a tough matchup for him. I mean, I don't know. Although, hey, Hesung Kim did get a double off of Ohtani in the live ABs today. So if you can do that, then you have I think a pretty good feather in your cap to argue as to why you should be starting. Jose Hernandez says, I don't mind our pitching staff costing us games. They're hurt/exhausted, which wish our offense was more consistent, especially against good teams. Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of the stuff Anthony and I just discussed in the opening of the show. I mean, Ohtani hit the home run tonight, and then not much to hear from him. Mookie had I think one single. Freeman had a double. So I mean, they were trying. The biggest culprit tonight, honestly, at the plate was Will Smith. I mean, he came up. The big moments seem to keep finding him, and he's been great all year hitting with runners in scoring position. And nobody is going to be perfect. And this was just a tough game where it wasn't once, it wasn't twice. When he was coming up with the Dodgers really needing a big hit, and he wasn't able to do it. Next super chats from Noah Martinez. Our defense has looked really bad. Are we the 2024 Yankees? Infield didn't help Knack today. Today is on Muncy. Yeah, I mean, we've focused a lot on Muncy. What he's not doing at the plate defensively. I feel like it's been a roller coaster. He'll have a week where he makes impressive plays, and you think like, okay, like he's good now, and then there's an error. And I know that Juan Soto grounder today was hit hard and fine, like it could be a tough play, but I mean, it was, if I remember correctly, it was right at Muncy at the very least. He wasn't really having to range, I don't think, if I remember correctly. He wasn't having to range too far to either side, and he just didn't, booted it.
Yeah, and like, look, the defense is not great. We knew that coming into the season that wasn't going to be one of their strengths. But again, we're probably not really talking about this if they're able to score and if they're able to hit with runners in scoring position today. Like, the offense masks that stuff. And when you don't hit, then it is up to those small margin kind of things to win you a game. And if they don't produce in that way, then we're sitting here looking at a 3-1 score, and we're talking about Max Muncy's error.
Yeah. Obi, it's not a super chat, but Obi-1 is saying Mookie thought he was Derek Jeter today. I just thought that was pretty funny. Yeah. I mean, Mookie made, that was a great stop that he made on the play. And then as Chick Hearn would say, the mustard came off the hot dog from there.
Yeah.
Godfrey still keeping on Muncy topic. What are your thoughts on Muncy's future? His bat hasn't been able to hide his terrible defense. I think, considering what we've seen from the front office with how they handled Barnes and Taylor, I would not be fully surprised if Muncy continues trending in kind of the direction that he is heading into the trade deadline, if the Dodgers do make a move. I'm not saying that means Arenado, but it wouldn't shock me. They were linked to Ryan McMahon, they were mentioned as one of the teams that are kind of monitoring if the Rockies will end up trading him. But I personally would not be shocked if they do look to shore up third base if Muncy continues down the same path.
Yeah. The options would be interesting to take a look at if they did decide to go that route. But in terms of like longer term with him, it's a club option next year. If this keeps up, why would they pick it up? I think at this point, because he doesn't add anything defensively, and if he's not going to hit, and if he's not going to hit for power, then he kind of becomes, valueless for this roster, because he's there to fill a certain role. So yeah, I would think that they would then for sure go in a different direction. But in terms of this season, what that might mean, yeah, I don't think the organization is at that point yet. I know some of us might say like, look, you got to get the guy out of here. But again, Arenado's not the option. And so, I know people in the chat I've seen today already, kind of pining for Arenado. He's not the answer either. Not for what this club needs. It's why they didn't pursue him before. Like they have no interest in the guy, for good reason. And so I think that, in-season options are probably fairly limited, looking at who might be available and who would be selling at that point.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Another super chat. Jay White Kim says, in the game on May 24th, was it to protect Kershaw when he was pulled after 2 innings? Various articles just mentioned the rain delay as the reason. Yes. So anytime, it's not just Kershaw specific. I mean, the Mets pulled their starter. I forgot who it was, but they took him out of the game as well Friday night. Basically, any rain delay, once it gets to 45 minutes or so, it becomes iffy, I would say, right? On if a starter is coming back. Once you get past an hour, then it pretty much all but guarantees they aren't going to be pitching in that game. And it is, yes, to answer your question, J.Y. Kim, it is to protect Kershaw, but this is also kind of a blanket general policy approach that teams take with any starting pitcher. So it wasn't Kershaw specific, but the rain delay is basically, yes, why Kershaw didn't stay in the game. And that, I mean, was just what a way to start the road trip. If you're the Dodgers, you come out of an off day, you feel like things are reset. You should get 5 innings from Kershaw, and then he struggles. Or not struggles, excuse me. He had a no-hitter. So maybe the conversation should be shifted to Dave Roberts took Kershaw out of another no-hitter. Next super chats from Bacon Tree. When will Mookie actually start hitting for real? What value does Muncy give you? Conforto is a negative win player. I feel like we discussed Muncy and Conforto. Mookie stuff. I mean, there's a lot going on for him at the plate right now, and not a lot of it is great.
Yeah, you'd like to see some consistency with him and not so many ups and downs. Overall, he's still been a good offensive player this season, just not to the standard that we're used to from him. And in all honesty, when the lineup is struggling like this, you're going to look at those kinds of guys and expect more from them. I think he has a 120-ish OPS plus, or
it is up around. We've written a couple articles about it recently, and I remember looking that up, and I was surprised that it was that high because it doesn't feel like it is. And so that's where my eye test looks at these numbers, and I think, man, your computers have it all wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he would tell you too, like he's not there yet. He hasn't found it. He's frustrated. He's mentioned it on a couple of different occasions too. So yeah, but in all honesty, Mookie Betts is not the problem with this lineup. He's been fine enough. But it's hard to, get consistent production when at any given moment on any given game, you got kind of 3 auto outs, in that lineup. And so, you're not even hitting a pitcher. So, I think everybody around those guys, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Teo, they need to be better.
Yeah. All right. All these super chats are rolling in tonight. So eventually we'll get to the rest of our show. Look, we appreciate all the support. So thank you guys for this. I'm just letting Anthony know that we're still sort of rifling through these. Kevin says, too much expectations for this bad showing. Yeah, I mean, again, we're not going to make excuses. The Dodgers are certainly not playing well at all right now. It's been a struggle for them, but I think it is important to keep the perspective of, look at how many guys. I mean, they have 14 pitchers on the injured list, and yes, some of them they knew that was going to be like Bruce Gratterall. They know he's a second half type thing. Gavin Stone had his shoulder surgery, so fine. But you're not necessarily, I know I'll say this, and I'm going to get a bunch of responses saying that's what happens when you sign injury-prone players, but you're not necessarily expecting to lose Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Roki Sasaki, Evan Phillips. Kopech hasn't pitched yet. All within the first 2 months of the season. That's not so. And I know, everybody's upset saying, look at the Dodgers record since the 10-0 start, fine. But if you take those caliber players off of any other team in Major League Baseball and tell me what happens to that team after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to struggle. And guys have missed good chunks of time too, on the offensive side as well. But they're mostly healthy now. And guys like Tommy Edman and Muncy and Conforto, who we've already discussed, those guys just they have to produce at a higher level because they've built this lineup with the expectation that those guys were going to be at a certain baseline level, and they're all well below it right now. Edman's been okay. He's been fine enough, but those other guys that they were counting again on being sort of middle of the order-ish guys, maybe 6, 7 in lineup, something like that, when it's all healthy, are well below expectations at this point.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going through these. Baseball Geek with another one says the only successful signing this offseason is re-signing Teoscar. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that is how things have sort of taken shape so far. Kirby Yates, was a roller coaster before going on the IL. Tanner Scott has blown 4 saves. Blake Snell's hurt. He didn't pitch particularly well. It did come out after the fact that he was already feeling, some shoulder trouble before he went on the injured list. Let's see, who else am I missing from their big off? Sasaki. I mean, I think he faced somewhat unfair expectations because of the hype and the potential that surrounded him. So has he been a disappointment? I mean, sure, I guess he's hurt, so maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's been.
Tanner Scott's been good. Like as a closer, the blown saves are going to stand out, and there's 2 in the last 3 outings for him. So the recency bias is playing a little bit of a role here, but he's been mostly good. And before those 2 bad outings that he just had, he was starting to look like he was going to be the dominant guy that they were hoping for. So I don't want to be like, oh yeah, he's been terrible. He had been pretty good before 2 of these last 3 outings. So if he can get right again from there, then he's going to be fine, and he's going to look like a really good signing. But yeah, I understand the point, especially with Snell having made only 2 starts, 3 starts, whatever it's been. We haven't really seen a lot of Glass now. Kirby Yates is hurt. Like, I get it. I totally do get it. And that's the frustrating part. Like, they made these signings, and like, we were stoked, right? And it wasn't just us. It was everybody who covers baseball. It was a ton of fans. We were all saying, is this the best roster on paper, like, ever?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was those conversations being had. And, a lot of those guys that were the reason for that conversation to be had aren't playing right now.
Yeah. I didn't mention Ha-Seong Kim. I think that signing has, he started, it's been a small sample size, but from what we've seen, the flashes and the development trajectory is certainly there. And I forgot Conforto, obviously. That's been another unfortunate disappointment. I think, honestly, if there's anything to be taken from all of this, it's that the Dodgers actually did not ruin baseball the way some of these other owners and fan bases were complaining. So when we get through the 2026 season, I'm expecting that the owners won't be pushing for a lockout because the Dodgers have not ruined anything. There's nothing to blame them for. Look at all these bad signings they made. So
yeah,
they have all these terrible contracts on their books. So let's keep the game going. No need for another lockout. It's not good for anybody. 300 GJW says, just in, Dodgers hit into another double play. Mookie went from an all-star right fielder to an average shortstop.
He was not an all-star because of his glove. This whole narrative of like Mookie Betts, a dominant defensive right fielder, I don't know where that came from. He hasn't been that.
He was pretty good.
He was good, but he wasn't like. There's like Andy Paz is better than him right now in right field.
Ooh, I don't know if my there's too many negative highlights with Pajes. I don't let her block. I have a mental block. It's not letting me get there. You might be right.
But none of those came in right field for the most part.
Fair.
They were in center field, and he's been like. I think he has a chance to be like long term. He has a chance to be an elite defensive right fielder. I think Andy Pajes does. The Mookie stuff is like he was good. There was a time when he was like a great right fielder, but not ever with the Dodgers. He's been good with the Dodgers, and he's been declining defensively as an outfielder. I think that was part of the other reason to move him out of the outfield was because he's a declining athlete. There's just kind of no way around it. Like, I'm fine with him playing shortstop. Like he's been fine. Like we are going to pick on him because of the errors because he's a new shortstop, but he's been fine there.
Yeah, I think, and that's what I was going to say in response to the rest of the super chat is I'm assuming, and 300 if I'm incorrect, if you're still in here, clarify. You don't have to do a super chat, just throw it in the comments. He's calling Mookie an average shortstop. I'm assuming that's factoring in his bat. Because honestly, to me, defensively, Mookie has played much better at shortstop than even with the like. I thought that it was going to be rougher than it's been. So I would just say, if anything, he's turned into kind of a glove first player now, whereas before, you mentioned, yes, Mookie's defense wasn't carrying him to all the all-star nods per se when he was in right field. So I think there has been a flip, and if you think that they are related or not, then I'll leave it up to you to decide.
And if he was hitting this, the conversation about his defense at shortstop would the aura around it would be much different, I think.
Yeah. Fritz says, your thoughts on the goofy obstruction play. So yeah, Blake and I were on Friday night. I think, was that Friday night or was it last night? I think it was Friday. I'm sure you saw it. You saw replay. Like,
yeah.
Do you remember something like that ever being called?
I didn't even know that was a rule. I seriously did not know that was a rule. And I've certainly never seen it called, obviously, because I didn't know if it was a rule. I've never seen that play called. And then something like a similar play happened like a few innings later from the other side, and they didn't call it, right?
Yeah. So they didn't. At least it wasn't apparent that Bill Plunkett of the OC Register had quotes from Muncy, because then the Dodgers dugout it was Teoscar who was trying to tag up from third base, basically on the same play. Fly ball to right field, runner from third is trying to tag. And the Dodgers, Teoscar scored. The Dodgers dugout got on. I think it was Trip Gibson, who was the umpire. We're yelling at him. Dino Ebel tried to play peacemaker. Then in Bill Plunkett's article from the OC Register, Muncy said that it was called when Teoscar was trying to score, but that since he scored anyway, it was just it was fine. Like, they didn't have to actually.
Yeah, they didn't have to go make a call on it.
Enforce it type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Muncy did what Muncy has done throughout his entire Dodgers career that I've watched him. He's done what other third basemen who play I've seen. Like, you kind of stand there and it is what it is. So yeah, that was strange. I mean, it was a weird Friday night to be all around. Phil, you've turned into one of our most consistent supporters with these super chats, and each one is always about $20. So we appreciate that. It says, we should have spent the money we did on Conforto on keeping Walker instead. Can never have enough pitching. Big swing and miss by the front office there. I get the sentiment. I was a big Walker Buehler guy. I wanted him to be back. I don't think it's necessarily apples to apples. I don't think because they spent on Conforto that that money could have been allocated to Buehler. But I understand the sentiment, because Buehler obviously ended his Dodgers career as a fan favorite, and Conforto is 100% the opposite of that right now.
Yeah, and Walker Buehler's been just kind of okay. He hasn't been great. So I understand the sentiment too, but I'm with you. Signing Conforto did not take them out of the running for Buehler if they really wanted Walker Buehler. I think they just probably didn't trust going forward on a longer term deal that he would be very good for what I think he was, expecting contract wise. And he hasn't been that good this season with Boston. And then I think also with the other signings they had and saying, okay, Glasnow's healthy now, we have Snell, et cetera, et cetera. They didn't see a need for him. And in all honesty, like, we didn't either. Like,
no.
The injury stuff happens, and sure, there's the risk there because you're signing guys like Snell and Glasnow. I get that. But I just, not an apples to apples comparison. But yes, Conforto's been bad, and people are looking for reasons to fault the front office for that move.
Yeah. All right. We have two super chats here, but they're kind of on the same topic. One is from Richard Flores. That in-game interview was so bad, and he puts "so bad" in caps if you're listening via podcast. Richard also says that he's done with Muncy. Sticking with the in-game interview and ESPN's, Sunday Night Baseball. David Ramos says, I'm so tired of Sunday Night Baseball where they have to do player interviews during the game. I don't need to hear about stupid diaper rash story. Yeah, I'm glad somebody brought this up. So two things. One, I know one of the topics Francisco Lindor's wife was addressing was, I think, postpartum depression. And she has a podcast, I think, if I was hearing it correctly, and she kind of wanted to raise awareness for that. So great. Like, completely fine with that. I think in general that in-game interview was lacking and was a little flat. And I know, Anthony, you and I are, in lockstep on the, like, I am not a fan of them anyway. I'm okay. My stance is, like, if they're going to do this, like, do it with a player who's not playing the field. If they're in the dugout, not in the lineup, or even if they were in the lineup, but they're in the dugout because they're just not batting or whatever, like, fine. Like, I'm okay with that. But I'm open to that. But as a whole, I think these interviews they don't bring much to the table.
They give you nothing. They're terrible. They're terrible. They don't add anything to the game. If you want to talk about the stuff with somebody's wife, then just talk about it on the broadcast. Like, you don't need to interview a player for it. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, if the trade-off is like, okay, do them in the dugout versus when the guy's in the field, I'm with that. I don't think they need to do them at all, period. They don't ever get anything good out of them. Like, there's nothing, rarely is there anything of interest that comes out of those interviews.
Yeah, well, there was the one time, maybe a couple years now, where we heard about Mookie bowling with Nelly or whatever the case was, and him going over to his house really late. But yes, it's few and far between. Credit to my wife, we were watching the game, and she said, if that were her, she said, like, I would probably just say, like, no, like, he's playing, like, I don't even want to do that. I'm not going to interrupt it. So she gets it, we get it. It's one of the many reasons why her and I are married. But yeah, I mean, it's and I'm seeing people saying that they're looking forward to ESPN losing the baseball broadcast. I would caution that it's not an ESPN only thing. So, like, these are, Apple does them, Fox has done them. Fox at least has gotten to speaking with the manager in between innings, which fine, like, whatever. Like,
yeah, then that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. But Apple, I don't remember if they had anybody mic'd up for this last game the Dodgers did, but Apple has mic'd up players before. So
yes, they have.
It's not like, I don't want to completely bash ESPN because it's not just them. But yeah, I mean, the value, whatever network, is not worth it, in my opinion. All right. Aaron Garcia says, at least pitching was good. Offense will be fine. So let's use that to transition into one of the bright spots tonight. And I think, Landon Knack, I would say 6 big innings for the Dodgers tonight. Any starter that can go 6 right now is huge. Yes, the 3 runs, but as you see on the screen here, only 1 was earned. Didn't walk anybody. 5 strikeouts. Honestly, like a stellar performance. And I know it's not I know Landon Knack is not popular amongst fans in general, but I think it's important to keep in mind what he should be. Like, right now, he's basically needing to be like a number 2 or 3 starter, when in reality, he's like a 5 or a 6, like, spend a lot of the season in AAA. Oh, we have an injury for a couple weeks. Come make a few starts for us type thing. And that's not the role he's in right now, just because of everything. So what'd you see from Knack out on the mound?
Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he is giving them right now sort of what they need, for the most part. He's had a couple of, like, clunkers that make that ERA look terrible. But he's also had some really good outings as well. He's got to just continue to eat innings for them, I think, and that's sort of the job right now. And if he can do that and have a quality start, then that's fantastic. But you're right, like, they're needing him to be like a number 3 right now, and just, he profiles as a guy who's like a 4 or 5, and would not be sniffing this rotation if all hands were on deck. So today was a really good outing for him, and I think, again, as long as he doesn't have blow up starts, which we have seen a couple of those from him, if he can give them 5-6 innings, you kind of consider that a win at this point.
Yeah, and I forgot what it was in response to, but Chad Moriyama, who I'm sure a lot of people with us are familiar with on Twitter, he covers, does a lot of great things, videos, GIFs, all that stuff, and writes for Dodgers Digest. He was somebody responded to one of his tweets about Knack, and I don't want to say it was belittling Knack, it was basically calling it like he's, they shouldn't be relying on him or something, or I forgot what the context was. And Moriyama, I thought, summed it up pretty well. He said, yes, but he's alive right now. And that's basically what the Dodgers need.
Yes.
So I thought that was pretty
Chad
good.
always calls a spade a spade.
Yeah. We have some more super chats that have come in, so let's get to those. Hawaiian Kira says, offense owes pitchers that do not give up more than 3 runs. Good and great pitching performances should have been wins. Yeah, totally. I mean, if I told you before tonight's game, hey, Knack is only going to give up 3 runs, and only one of those is earned, if you want to get that, into the minutia of it, probably saying, yeah, like the offense needs to find a way to win that game at this point, especially right now. And that's what, I said earlier in the show, like I don't like to play the Dodgers could have been swept type thing, but that's what made Friday's game, I think, so imperative, was because they were at least sort of like they were in control.
Yeah.
And Tanner Scott was 2 outs away from the win. Considering how, and we're going to get into the schedule coming up, but considering how tough of a stretch the Dodgers are in, like you can't blow games right now. Like you need every win that you can bank when you're shorthanded against these quality teams.
Agree. Yeah, definitely.
Our other super chats from Rod, it says, is there nothing that can be done about all the pitcher injuries in MLB? Is it hopeless? It didn't used to be this way, and starters through 300 innings.
I can take this one real quick. Those days of guys throwing 250 innings are gone, and they're not coming back. Also, if you had a guy who was throwing that many innings now against these offenses, his ERA would probably be in the 5s. Like just because guys ate those innings didn't mean that they were necessarily effective. And a lot of those pitchers, if they pitched in this environment, would probably get lit up. You have to sort of control. You have to sort of tamp down that inning count when guys are going max effort constantly. And to the other point, which I think is more important about the injuries, is baseball has looked at this. There is no answer. And the bottom line here is that all of these pitchers, from high school through the majors, are chasing velocity right now. And it's what's getting them signed. It is what is getting them contracts, that like once they are in free agency or extension eligible, like all of that kind of stuff. And so I don't think we're going to see this thing curbed anytime soon, because there's too much incentive for guys to chase that, and when teams continue to reward it, that's what's going to happen. And so I think the one thing that everyone can come to some sort of consensus on when it comes to this topic is that these guys are going max effort every time, and the arm's just not built for it.
Yeah. So I think basically some sort of miraculous scientific advancement that could be done that isn't considered cheating. Like that's, I think, the only answer. Because to your point, like, and I've said it before, no coach, no team, no front office executive, no scout is going to go up to a pitcher and say, hey, stop throwing so hard.
Yeah.
Throw the ball softer. Don't worry about velocity. Like it's just there's no putting that genie back in the bottle.
I think the next evolution in this is different. They're going to start to construct bullpens differently. I think is the next probably like sort of market inefficiency. I think the first organizations that start to address starting pitching by building their bullpen a little bit differently. And the Dodgers have kind of tried to do that at times. But I think that's sort of going to be the response to all of this is you want to get 5 innings out of your starter and then hand the ball over to the bullpen. And then so teams will start to construct the bullpens with that understanding in mind and not push these starters. And it's aesthetically, it's not great. I admit, I'll be the first to say that and call that out. I do understand why teams do this. Even if we don't necessarily like it or agree with it, like they're making 9-figure investments in these guys, and they want them to take the ball as often as possible. And I think if you're pushing guys to go 7 innings every time and throw 120 pitches every time, they're going to start to break down because of the stuff we talked about with max effort and max velocity and all of that stuff. It's a recipe for injury, even for the healthiest type of guys. I just don't see it stopping anytime soon because it's being incentivized.
Yeah, and I wonder, to your point of maybe of starters, just like you said, get 5 innings type thing, maybe 6. Maybe like 6 will be the new ace at some point,
right?
With that, I wonder if there's a shift within baseball, and this is not going to happen anytime soon, but sort of in line with constructing bullpens differently. Like, do you add 1 more roster spot, maybe 2 more roster spots to let teams carry another pitcher or 2, so that it helps with usage or stuff like that. And at least in theory, like if you're not running a guy out there 3 games in a row, hopefully he's not going to, be getting hurt. Obviously it's not foolproof. I know that the owners would probably be against that because that's another roster spot that then they're having to pay a salary for. And Anthony, contrary to popular belief and claims against some of us on this show, we are not on the Guggenheim payroll. We're not here to just parrot their takes. So here I am saying, hey, owners would not be happy with needing to pay more players. So hopefully that puts all that stuff to bed. But in all seriousness, I mean, yeah, it'll be. I don't think those types of changes, though. I mean, and even you're like kind of shifting towards a new forward-thinking bullpen, if you will, like what, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, like it's going to take a while, right? Like we saw the Rays kind of get aggressive with using openers, and then like the Dodgers were one of the teams that then started adopting it, and then it became commonplace throughout the sport.
I think if they were to open up another roster spot, one, I think it's good I think it's good, but also I think that could lead to some innovation too. Like I've talked about this before on our shows, where let's say the Dodgers have, when guys are healthy, let's say they have 7 starters that are major league capable. Then you start to piggyback guys. Yeah. Because now you have that extra roster spot. So you're not taking like, let's say Landon Knack and Bobby Miller, just to put a name out there. Both go 4 innings, let's say. Well, you have that, and not one of them is taking the place of a reliever. So I think if you open up the roster by another guy, I think it allows teams to maybe start innovating in different ways, and they'll play with options and things like that to make that happen. But I think that could be a thing that we start to see also, because you're hoping to save a bullpen 1 day a week, and then it gives you a chance to take a look at some extra guys. There's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, it's a half-baked thought by me. I know that, but I think thinking differently in that way is something that's going to have to happen quick, because we're seeing even some of the best pitchers just go 6 innings. You'll every once in a while you'll have the sort of the outlier, like Schoolboy, I think, threw a complete game today or yesterday, and so you have that stuff. But for the most part, teams are happy if their guy gives them 6.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's unfortunate. I'm with you. Like I do miss the days of, the Dodgers, like they had Kershaw and Greinke. And when those 2 guys were starting, you knew you were getting at least 7 innings. Even Ryu, like you knew you were going to get at least 6, maybe 7 from him on, any given night. So it's, I do miss the fun kind of big starting pitching matchups of baseball. But yeah, like you said, I just don't know if where that era is going to be coming back. All right, this one, I think I saw it already starting to stir up a lot of responses. LLM213, thank you for this super chat. It says, when can we admit that Mookie is hurting this team? I mean, like hurting them from the standpoint of he's not meeting lofty expectations at the plate. Sure. Like, yes, there have been a lot of at-bats that he hasn't delivered on yet. There have been times where he has. Outside of that, I mean, I don't know. Like, he's hardly from their biggest issue right now.
Yeah, and I don't know how he's hurting them. He's been a pretty solid defensive shortstop. He's been a well above average offensive player. We are holding him to his own standard, and he has not lived up to that. But I don't think he's the reason why this team has been about 500 since that hot start.
Yeah. Another super chat from LLM213. Yes or no, this should be Muncy's last year with us. I mean, yeah, I think if he continues down this path, then it should, and it probably will be. But if there is some sort of turnaround, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, it's a relatively team-friendly salary next year, so maybe the Dodgers exercise it and see, what they could potentially get in a trade, or if Muncy, turns the corner and puts together a strong second half, maybe it changes the calculations and the thinking a little bit.
Yeah, I think that if they do bring him back, it's probably potentially as a bench role, and maybe they have that conversation with him and they bring in somebody else, whether that's Freeland to play third or something. Maybe they get creative in that way internally, or maybe they go out and get somebody from externally. But yeah, I think it's not terrible if they bring him back. I just don't think he's probably going to be an everyday kind of guy if they do.
Yeah. Super chat from Laura, who's always in here with us. So Laura, we're glad to see you, and thank you for the super chat. Thank you everybody for being in here. We got up to about 2,000 people on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We had a bunch of super chats tonight, which definitely help our YouTube channels sustain itself and continue to grow. So thank you for these. Laura says, have we seen the last of Bobby Miller?
Sure seems that way.
I will say,
I mean, they brought him up the other day just in case they needed him, but
and he did pit like it was a different role for it. It was out of the bullpen, but it was more circumstantial than I think like
them wanting to have him up because he earned the shot. Yeah,
right. Because then look, like they sent him right back down the next day. I thought maybe he was going to stick around and sort of be the another sort of Ben Kasparius type where he could pitch multiple innings. If they want to insert a spot starter at some point, then they can use him. I will say we have seen the last of Bobby Miller as a prominent contributor for the team. We have not seen the last of him in the physical, like literal sense, just because, I mean, look at how many injuries they've had. Like, I think he'll get recalled at some point.
They clearly don't believe that he's ready right now. Like, so it's why you haven't seen him. But yeah, I think we still see him at some point. Is just maybe the role changes a little bit, or maybe they're just in such desperate need that they have to turn to him again. But yeah, they clearly don't believe in him right now as a guy who can contribute at this level.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this next topic. We've discussed it a few times. So the Dodgers are in the middle of playing, I believe it's like 26 games in a row against teams that are over 500 and currently kind of, in the playoff picture. It started with the Mets this weekend. They lost 2 out of 3. Next is 3 with the Guardians, and then the Dodgers are back home for the Yankees. Another matchup with the Mets. Then the Cardinals, another road trip starts with the Cardinals, then the Padres, then they're back home for the Giants, and they play the Padres again. Anthony, we spent 45 minutes or so, almost actually close to an hour, discussing a lot of the concern and struggles that the Dodgers are dealing with, injuries and stuff. I mean, how concerning, how worried are you about the stretch that they're in, given the current state of the team? The offense is inconsistent. We mentioned the starting rotation. There's not a bunch of help that's about to come in a week or so.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about it. I think they'll be fine. I think I said it before they started this series. I think they probably come out of this around 500. With all of these games, I think the offense will eventually show up. I'm concerned about the pitching, even though like currently they've been fine, because there are no reinforcements coming, like you said, on that side anytime soon. Like at least not the kind they need, and so. I wonder how that holds up during this time. But it's not like every single team they're playing is like a world beater. Like they're going to be fine, and they'll win games, they'll lose games. It's probably going to be frustrating because again, I think that they probably hover around 500 during this stretch. But there's no one else in the division that is like just looking to run away with it. And I don't think this is the stretch that is going to be like, okay, now the Giants are 7 games up on the Dodgers. Like I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I was throwing some of the comments up. There was at least one that disagreed with you. He's not the only one. I think it was Michael who said they'd be in 3rd place. I've seen a lot of that going around. I agree with you. I think the Dodgers basically, you need to just kind of tread water and survive this stretch.
Yeah.
And I think going 500, even if it drops you to 3rd place and you're 2-3 games back, like that's almost a win considering the state of their roster right now. And I know, people are looking at the Padres and the Giants. The Giants got off to a hot start. And look, the NL West is a battle right now. Like you're saying that neither of those teams are running away. The reality is the Dodgers have not run away with the division yet either. Like it doesn't look like they're about to.
Right.
But the Padres were just swept by, was it the Mariners or something? And they were like in a huge scoreless drought. Michael King just went on the injured list. Like, who knows what they're obviously going to be without him for 2+ weeks at this point.
Yeah.
So I think what tends to happen is as the Dodgers kind of concerns are being evaluated and discussed, it's for some reason with the assumption that these other teams are absolutely going to play like 700 ball as the Dodgers,
right.
As the Dodgers struggle to rack up wins. And that might it happen? Sure. Mathematically, can it happen? Yes. but it's not guaranteed. And the Padres just went through the struggles. The Giants were hot, cooled off, and have played a little bit better recently, but they went through their struggles. Like, it's not the end all be all. So I think if the Dodgers come, and it sounds funny, but the reality is if the Dodgers come out of this stretch of 20 some odd games, 25 some odd games, whatever it is, at worst, like 2 or 3 games back out of first place, like that is almost a win, with the assumption that some of their starters continue to trend in the right direction. We're going to have, we're going to get into some updates right now, but yeah, I mean, look, again, like I know that, the game against the Mets tonight wasn't great. The Dodgers weren't blown out in any of these games at Citi Field, and take that for what it's worth. Like, could they have won? Sure. Could they have also lost? Yes. The Guardians, we'll see. And then I think, you never know when you kind of catch guys, and things tend to happen in baseball. So it at the very least, I think it'll be it'll give us a lot to talk about when we come on these live shows, because Dodgers are either going to be beating these playoff quality teams, or people are going to be very upset with us.
Yeah. I mean, look, I was called an idiot last year when I said that they were going to win the division by 5 games. And everyone said they're not even going to win the division, period. And they won the division by 5 games. So, like, I mean, we act like this stretch is like this gauntlet of like teams that just don't lose. Like, every team that we've talked about during this stretch that they're going to see has gone through their own ups and downs this season already. And it's just the end of May. So, I think that they'll probably come out of this thing right around 500, give or take a game or two. And maybe they drop into second place, but it's like, we'll probably see them a game, 2 games back or something like that. It's not anything that's going to be, something they can't manage or something they can't handle or come back from. Like, this is not going to win them the division, and it's not going to lose them the division this stretch that they're in right now.
Yeah. We got a couple more super chats that came in as we were discussing that. 300 GJW says, do the Dodgers trade for an arm now or wait until the deadline?
I think they wait.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of that also is just the industry, like baseball in general. Like, rarely I mean, if the Dodgers, I guess, went to some team and said, hey, we're ready to do this huge overpay for X player, then maybe something like that gets done. But there just typically isn't activity until we're closer to the trade deadline. Lee says, I'm surprised Conforto struck out in the 9th inning. Yes, I know he's terrible, which is exactly why I'm surprised on why he was, then he put in all caps, still in the damn game.
Yeah.
I wondered about that, but I mean, I guess the options are relatively lit. Like, you, at that point, 2 outs, you sort of need a home run. And there was a runner on. Like, if Conforto happens to run into one, then it's a tie game. Like, Haesung Kim is not going to necessarily give you that pop. I guess you could have gone Dalton Rushing, but then Dave Roberts we've seen it in the past. Like, he's reluctant to burn his second catcher in that regard. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you have anything else to expand on that.
Yeah, not really. The options aren't great, outside of that either. But yeah, there's been a couple of times too where we've been like, look, why is this guy hitting in this situation? Some of that is Rushing is the other guy, and you don't want to burn him that way. In other situations, not saying that was the case tonight, but yeah, I don't want that particular guy up in those leverage situations, but it is what it is. I don't think that just because you pinch hit there or something like that means it's going to be an automatic success.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some more encouraging stuff. And the first update, Shohei Ohtani faced hitters today. First time since having his elbow surgery in 2023. I mentioned earlier, Haesung Kim got a double off of him. Dalton Rushing, I think, struck out once. Game planning coach JT Watkins, he took some at bats, and I think he struck out. And then he walked, and the reporters were saying when he got his walk, he did a bat flip. A lot of fun. I know they showed some of the clips on the broadcast. We have, if you go to the shorts section on our YouTube channel, you'll see a clip of Ohtani facing the batters today. Anthony, I mean, exciting, right? Like, obviously this is pretty important and a pretty big step for Ohtani.
Yeah. It's the next step in the progression. He looked happy. I think he's sort of itching to get this thing going here. We're not going to see him until after the break. I think that was basically confirmed, and with something that we all probably kind of knew anyway. Like I'm excited for him. Like aside from the fact that they need him, like this is why they gave him the $700 million is to play both sides.
Yep. All right, now let's get into some mixed news here on the injury front. Roki Sasaki, Dave Roberts said he had said before the Dodgers went out on the road trip that his expectation was that Sasaki would be starting a throwing program while the Dodgers were away. None of the injured pitch, Sasaki, Phillips, Trinan, none of the guys on the injured list, Blake Snell, went with the team on this road trip. The Dodgers made a decision to just leave them here at home so they could continue with their their respective rehabs. Sasaki's throwing program is going to start, I guess this week now, since Sunday is. Well, I don't want to derail the conversation, but I always joke that Monday is the start of a new week. But anyway, in the next few days, Sasaki will be starting playing catch, so that's important. Michael Kopech, he made another rehab appearance today for Oklahoma City. It was his 6th one. He still has probably at least 2, is what Dave Roberts has indicated, before he's ready to come back. Maybe 3. That's encouraging. We just got done, discussing the pitching injuries the Dodgers have. On the downside, Evan Phillips, he received a PRP injection, I would say maybe about a week ago at this point, because his elbow was still giving him a hard time. And there's still some discomfort there. And Dave Roberts acknowledged today, he told reporters that, yes, like, I forgot how he worded exactly. Either there is growing concern or he is more concerned now than maybe he was before. Let's focus on that one, Anthony, because when Phillips went on the injured list, both he and Dave said, it should be fine, not that big of a deal. I personally think we're looking at a scenario where Evan Phillips' season might be in danger, unfortunately.
I think I said something along the lines of, I wouldn't be surprised if this means his season is done on the day when Phillips and Roberts were like, this is not a big deal. One, you just can never trust that. And 2, anytime you're talking about that kind of quote unquote discomfort, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. And that's never a quick thing. And now, given this news, I'm pretty certain we've seen the last of Evan Phillips this season.
Yeah, hopefully not, but an unfortunate develop there on the Phillips front. So that's kind of where the injury updates sort of stand. Let's get to, we've been running kind of a long show here. I want to make sure we have time for some questions. So if you guys have a question, just throw it in the chat. As a reminder, start it with the word question in all caps. It makes it easier for Anthony and I to pick out. In the meantime, we have a super chat from Ivan. It says, thank you for the show. As always, us fans use it for therapy. Ivan, thank you. And thank everybody who's been in here and is always in here with us, whether we do Sunday night, Tuesday night, Thursday, if impromptu Friday night, the way Blake and I did to start the road trip. We appreciate the opportunity getting to interact with everybody. We don't always agree, but it's fun to kind of see different perspectives and try to talk through things and find some common ground. All right, let's see what questions you guys have for us. And if it is anything kind of off topic, we'll try to leave those for the end of the show. So just keep that in mind, please. Here, Michael Carrillo wants to know, can we bring up Alex Freeland and yeet Muncy into the sun?
He's not on the 40-man right now, right? So they would have to get rid of somebody. I think if Muncy continues this kind of struggle, they may make that kind of move. Like I don't necessarily know that they DFA Muncy or something like that. But I do think he might force their hand and say, you're going to have to put me on the 40-man and find a way to get me into the big leagues at some point. But that is going to, I don't think he kicks the door down if Muncy picks it back up, let's say. Then I think it's a lot less likely. But considering where they are offensively and defensively, I definitely wouldn't mind seeing him called up.
Yeah. The one thing I'm not sure about is, would the Dodgers give him basically like an everyday type job or, pretty regular at their, how many, my question, like, and it's not necessarily, it doesn't need to be answered now. I just wonder, like, how many rookies would they want to be relying upon, like, heading into the playoffs, potentially assuming that the NL West race goes the course of the season, and then into the postseason and the pressure with that. So that's the only thing I'm not necessarily sure of, although we've seen it in the past. Like they did call up Corey Seager late in the year, and he, took over the starting job from Jimmy Rollins. Ben Kasparius last year obviously played a huge role. Jack Dreyer's getting that opportunity now this year. So it does happen. They're already relying on a lot of young players, I feel like. Like, I don't know if they would be reluctant to introduce one more. It could just be, something with me. Super chat from the runner on second. I wish Mookie had more bark against bogus strikes. Yeah, I mean, that's always difficult. Like, you don't gain any favors with the umpires by doing stuff like that. And of course, you run the risk of then getting ejected from the game if you complain too much, or if an umpire maybe is just having a bad day and has a quick hook, then you could get run out of the game.
Yeah, and he's got a way, as a lot of guys do, of letting the umpire know you don't agree with that call without having to like show him up or be demonstrative or yell at him or whatever. Like the umpire knows if Mookie Betts isn't happy with the call. Like he's gonna find a way to make it be known, even if it's subtle.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what other questions we have here. Don Kim wants to know your thoughts on the usefulness of Baseball Savant's bat path / swing data. I haven't looked at it a whole ton. I know that might surprise some of you, and yes, I'm being sarcastic. And Anthony, have you dug into any of this stuff that they've?
I haven't gone too deep into that, aside from like some of the stuff I'll see on Twitter. But
yeah,
I'm sure that it's useful for somebody. It's useful for some front offices and some of the data geeks in those offices. But yeah, for me, like I haven't gotten too far into that yet.
Anthony, on this show, we call those data guys nerds.
Yeah.
Just a blanket, nerd.
Just nerds across the board.
Yeah. Just Phil wants to know, says, since Jeff isn't here, can we talk about cheese? LOL. Yeah, I mean, it's always we're always willing, whether Jeff is here or not. This is a cheese friendly show. We can always discuss cheese. All right, let's see what else do we have. Cole says, why play rushing against the lefty yesterday and Smith against the righty today? Bad lineup construction by Dave. Smith didn't need 2 days off for an off day. Simple answer is the Dodgers played 13 innings Friday night, and so there was no chance that Will Smith was going to be in the lineup on Saturday, righty or lefty, and that's just the way it is. I don't think it was the plan going into the series. Smith probably would have been off today instead of last night, but once that happened, then it just changes the calculus at that point. Lise wants to know, who is more likely to turn it around first, Muncy or Conforto?
I think probably Muncy at this point. Because I think he can at least give you something like with OBP and stuff like that, his eye and walks and things like that. I think for him too, it's just a matter of like he needs to quit chasing so much. With Conforto, there's some disturbing trends aside from like, okay, he's just hitting the ball hard and he's unlucky. It's more than that now.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, we have a few more here before we get to some food stuff. Aaron wants to know, what arm would you like to see the Dodgers add? I mean, this stuff is I'm not expecting them to make a huge move on the pitching side. I think it'll be more depth, kind of under the radar type thing, because they're going to count on the guys that they have coming back. Now, if it comes to X pitcher, X or Y starter isn't coming back for the season, then maybe it changes their approach. But I think for now, we're looking at depth.
Yeah, I think you would have to get news like that, like Snell, Glasnow, like those guys are done. For them to go after like a frontline kind of guy. I think any move they make, assuming that those guys do come back at some point, with Ohtani also coming back and Kershaw falling into place and all of that, is probably something like it's going to be sort of unsexy. I think, maybe like a middle rotation kind of guy, something like that, to give them depth and give them innings. I don't think they chase, that ace type of starter unless they get some really bad news.
All right, Anthony, we have two that I think are put up on a tee for you. Iris, okay. She asked this to Blake and I the other night. She wants to know if you eat duck.
It's not a regular thing for me. But yes, I have eaten it and I will eat it. Duck is good. I like, there's a place whenever I go to San Francisco that makes it really well. So yeah, I'm not, like I said, not a regular duck eater, but I've had it and it's good.
All right. There you go. Iris, that's a better answer than Blake and I were both. No, like we're out. So it was, yeah, we were the wrong people to ask. All right. Last one. Cole wants to know what's the best store-bought hot sauce. And
Ooh,
I'm not sure if I know that your salsa and hot sauce you're into, but
yeah.
I saw you and Jeff discussing some of this, so I don't know store-bought where you land on that front.
Hot sauce to me is like, it's a little different from like the chili that we were talking about the other night. So like hot sauce, like I really like the Louisiana hot sauce. I think that's what it's called, Louisiana hot sauce.
Yeah, I think so.
That's really good stuff. I like that, especially like on poultry, like turkey, chicken, like that kind of thing. If we're talking about like like if everything goes here, okay, Don Kim here in the chat. That's what I was gonna say. El Yucateca is something that you can kind of find in every grocery store, and you better be able to handle some heat if you go with the green one. They make a red one too that's pretty good, and it's a little milder, but it's not like mild, very much. Like it's still hot. But yeah, if you got the green stuff, just use it sparingly. Test yourself out first.
All right, I'll have to check that out. I enjoy doing Tabasco with my ketchup and then hash browns. I think it's a nice little mix. Yeah. All right, I lied. There was one more. Hawaiian Kira has a good question. Are you familiar with the show Hot Ones, where they eat those?
I am. Yeah.
How do you think you'd do on that?
I would make it pretty far, I think.
I think I would too.
Yeah. One thing I don't like though is like being hot just for the sake of being hot. And that's what that show kind of is. Like a lot of the stuff that I use is it's flavorful and it adds to whatever I'm using it for. But yeah, I think I would have a good run on that show, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. That's going to do it for tonight. Thank you, everybody. Again, we had about 2,000 of you in here with us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. I know it was a frustrating end to the weekend and series against the Mets. But we enjoyed talking with you guys as always. We appreciate, again, all the super chats. And if you aren't with us on YouTube, please be sure to come over whenever you get a chance. Dodger Blue 1958. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the notification bell. We're trying to make a big push to 100,000 subscribers. So once we get there, I know I keep saying it, like we do have maybe 2 giveaways planned, but we have to get there first. So please do that if you have time. If you're listening on podcasts, thank you. Please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff there as well. Anthony, thank you once again for joining us. I'm Matthew, and we'll be back on Tuesday night. Jeff should be back in the driver's seat for that one. Jeff and Anthony. Depending on how things go, maybe I hop on, maybe Blake hops on since it's a road game. A little bit easier, but we'll see. If it's a loss, then I might just let Jeff and Anthony
staying away. Yeah,
I'll tap out and say, no, you guys have it tonight. But thank you once again, and we will see you next time.